Welcome to the SEC on ESPN. Columbia, Missouri, the site of a new situation for Randy Shannon. 6 days ago, he woke up as the defensive coordinator of these Florida Gators. Now he's the interim head coach. Jim McElwain is gone. Randy Shannon takes over against a Mizzou team that would like a win certainly as well. Jason Benetti, Kelly Stauffer along with you. Chris Button down on the sideline. And look, we'll talk about the Florida program, where it goes from here, who the next head coach is going to be. But the question is, what does a week like this do to the players?
Ultimately, it is about the players, and I'm glad we're going to have this conversation because it was an unexpected change. And so what has to happen, the leaders in the locker room get a hold of the young guys and say, this is what we're doing going forward. It's about how we finish the next 4 weeks. For players, it's about what you put on tape. For those that have aspirations of going and playing in the NFL, put something good on tape for the next 4 weeks. For the young players, put something good on tape for the next head coach of this program. And it's all about what we see today, how good that transition is actually going.
Randy Shannon said the same thing to his coaches as well. He said, look, the only way you can get yourself a job after this, if you believe you're going to be gone with the new head coach in, is to put good coaching on tape as well.
Those things are real. And you know what? It's a win-win for everybody if we're putting our best foot forward for whatever your motivation is.
Larry Roundtree III receiving for Mizzou, and a good return for Roundtree, the freshman, out of bounds just short of the 40-yard line for the Tigers, who have been strong offensively out of conference the last 2 weeks under the direction of Drew Lock, whose dad and grandfather both are Mizzou Tigers. Drew was born here in Columbia, though he was raised in Lee's Summit. This is a guy who is Mizzou through and through, and one of the top passers already in the program.
And really playing it at an extremely high level. The month of October, he was absolutely off the chains, and so he has to continue that in conference play against a really decent Florida defense right here today.
Fake the jet sweep and the run for Ish Witter, who's in for the injured Demarie Crockett with the shoulder injury. So Witter with the first carry, and this Mizzou offense, they come in 28th in the country in points per game, and they will go fast. Another run for Witter, and he has a first down into Gator territory. Taylor again, Jawan Taylor with the tackle, his second.
And Jason, when Missouri is playing fast, they typically like to run the ball. That was Witter doing a great job. You had a loose defender in the hole, and a lot of times as a running back, you have to make one guy miss.
Loads of time for Locke. And that's incomplete. Jamon Moore, the intended target, and Marco Wilson, the freshman, who's broken up now 8 passes this year to lead the team in the coverage.
And so Missouri offensively, you're going to see Josh Heupel. It's the spread no huddle, the trademark wide splits, maximize the space. They like to have a vertical kind of physical run game downhill, and it's all about the pass, and Locke has been on point in the last few games.
Taven Bryan was early.
Offside defense, number 93, 5-yard penalty. Second down.
It was the Florida offense last week that had the infractions pre-snap. Here, one defensively to help out Locke, the junior, who's got 28 touchdowns and 8 picks and has just torn up non-SEC competition.
And it's an explosive pass game, and he has really 3 receivers plus an absolute beast of a tight end that he can distribute the football to.
Locke this time on the slide. Officially at the 41, Duke Dawson was closest, so a couple yards to set up third down and short.
And you do see a little bit of the quarterback design run. It's more of the quarterback zone read option, and that time it was Locke around the outside. I think if Locke was a little bit more aware of the down and distance, he could have put his head down and picked that one up. He got down just a little bit early on that one, ending up in a 3rd and 3 situation.
On third down, they run it again with Ish Witter, and he has the first down. C.C. Jefferson tripped him up, but Mizzou moves the chains.
And the young offensive line that is really starting to get better fits up front. Young offensive line was an issue last year. More competition on the line of scrimmage for Missouri this year, and they're really starting to play better on the line of scrimmage in really the last 3 or 4 games.
Back-to-back wins against Idaho and Connecticut. And another run. Witter cuts upfield and spins to the 25-ish. Witter spiked down by Reese, but another first down for Mizzou, trying to get to win number 4 on the year.
And I like Missouri getting to the run game early, because what that does is it's going to show whether Florida defensively has the heart in this game, because you have to come out up and tackle well in space against this run game from Missouri.
Randy Shannon has given up defensive coordinator duties to Chris Rumpf. And do you think heart might be an issue this week after the coaching
Absolutely.
change?
I think that's the one thing that this game is about, is the heart of Florida collectively. But on the defensive side, defense is played with emotion. It's played with the desire and a willingness to tackle, and that's what Florida defensively has to show here today against this spread hurry-up that is playing at a high level for Missouri.
Top of the screen, Wilson playing press coverage on Moore. Locke goes down to the bottom into double coverage, and it's intercepted by C.J. Henderson, his 3rd of the year.
The one chink in the armor for Locke is exactly this. You said it, Jason. It was double covered. Underneath and over the top, the receiver had no shot. It was play action inside and the seam outside, and the play was dead from the beginning. You have to go off of your number 1 receiver to somebody else or throw the football away. An egregiously bad decision by Locke early in this one.
And now we see a quarterback in Malik Zaire, who's taken over at Florida because Randy Shannon, the new head coach, interim-wise, has opened up the competition. Zaire won it, the Notre Dame transfer. He's played in a couple games this year, and we'll see him use his feet, but this time it's his arm to Brandon Powell, who loses yardage. And the ballad of Malik Zaire started at Notre Dame with just a wonderful game in the Texas game in 2015 after that opening start against LSU in the Music City Bowl in 2014. But Zaire taking over after Felipe Franks was ineffective, in part because of a struggling offensive line. LaMichael Pirine taking over for the injured Malik Davis, the young tailback who was hurt last week and likely out for the year.
And Jason, with the quarterback position, it's all about the players around you. Malik Zaire is just one component, and his play today isn't going to be the sole difference. He has to have an offensive line that plays well, receivers that compete for the football, but it's about the line of scrimmage for him. And his first money down at 3rd and 10, we'll see his decision-making right here. This is what Malik Zaire can bring to the table. He does have experience in these type of situations.
He's got Freddie Swain in motion. Zaire to throw. Swain got tangled up. And incomplete, so Mizzou's defense holds the line, and we check in with Chris Button.
Well, Jason, when Randy Shannon got the interim job this week, he decided to open up the quarterback competition, and really what he did was put his quarterbacks through game-like scenarios, some 3rd and long, some 2-minute drills, and Zaire just ended up being the better quarterback. But what was interesting was Felipe Franks went to Shannon, and he said, "I'm upset. I think I'm the better quarterback." Shannon said, "I love that. That's what I want."
Competitive nature for Felipe Franks certainly, as Floyd has to tail back inside the 20, but has a nice return out of it across the 30-yard line. So it's a net of 47 on the punt, and Malik Zaire gets the job for himself, and a 3-and-out starts it. Worse after the punt return, Rashad Floyd threw the football at Donovan Steiner of the Florida Gators, so a 15-yard penalty walks him back.
Just keep your composure. There was a little push on the head, and and Floyd took exception with it and then just tosses the ball to him. And Barry Odom is old school, so he's going to light Floyd up on the sideline, and rightly so. I mean, keep your composure and get back to the huddle.
Well, he's old school in some ways, but he does have video games in his office.
Says he's never been beat, but I don't think he has actually finished a game either. I don't think that counts as never being beat.
It's all for the kids, Kel. Winner on the run with the spin, and he gets about 2. David Reese and Jawan Taylor again on the tackle for this Gator defense that really tried to hold up against Georgia last week, but got put in some rough spots. Interception on the opening drive. This time Locke runs it, and he's got a first down. Drew Locke, who will run the ball. That's not his major component of his game, but behind him, this offense has gotten significantly better the last 4 games. Over the last 5 for him specifically, he's been at 65%.
Yeah, and he's been efficient. And the run game, not only the quarterback design run game, but the run game as a whole has also set the table for an extremely explosive pass game.
This is Roundtree, who had the opening kickoff return. He gets belted by the corner, Duke Dawson, and second down.
And one of the things, Jason, we need to keep our eye on is Josh Heupel told us as a play caller that they have to start faster. And that first drive, they were 2 passes. One was incomplete, one was picked off. 6 runs for 38 yards, okay, but it was a turnover in the red zone. That is not the quality start that the play caller was hoping for.
This time Locke gets cleaned out by Reese. So what is your takeaway from that opening drive if you are Josh Heupel, the former quarterback?
I think it's on the quarterback himself. I think it's about Locke making a bad decision. Go to your secondary receiver, and I've seen that on tape out of Locke. Sometimes he gets stuck in his progression, and he doesn't come off the primary receiver, and that interception was the result of that happening.
13th play for Mizzou. This is just the 3rd pass, and it ends in a run for a first down for Locke.
We've seen 2 design quarterback runs on the quarterback zone read stuff, and that was just nobody open down the field. Make a good decision, and that translates into Locke converting with his feet. He's very athletic. He just doesn't run it a ton, but that was a great use of his feet there.
Witter back in on a first down run. So Barry Odom, a Mizzou guy through and through, played here. 2nd season, 7-13 as it stands right now. But after the Auburn game, he was very vocal.
I love his attitude.
You do?
I do. He's right up there at the top of the list. It's Dabo Swinney for me, and Barry Odom might be like right beside him now in a tie for one of the best guys I've seen in this business.
Witter on the run is short by a couple of yards. Why do you say that? What about him?
I think it's his core values and his principles that have maintained through some incredibly difficult few months as the head coach here at Missouri. He told us he came as an 18-year-old as a linebacker, and he really grew up here, met his wife here, and through some tumultuous times, he stayed true to who he is. I love every bit of that.
There's some early movement on the line. Taven Bryan looked like he started too soon, but there's no flag on the play. And those tumultuous times with everything happening on campus in terms of civic duty and things like that, he said, look, every time I recruited a player last year, because of what happened on campus, I had to have a deep conversation.
Yeah, it was tough. He had to go out and sell his program in circumstances that were far from ideal.
There's one guy who's had a magnificent season, Corey Fatoni, and this one gets put on the deck by Powell, and Mizzou is on it. Anthony Sherrill's the recovery for the Tigers.
I mean, you can change coaches all you want, but that doesn't necessarily mean the focus changes. You have to do the little things that go into playing this game well, and Powell boots that one right there, and we've already seen a jump off sides, and it's those type of things that have led to this team as a whole not getting the job done.
Injured party is Marco Wilson, the freshman defensive back. And Mizzou gets to keep the ball after Powell put it on the ground on the muff punt. So a short field for Locke. To throw a little bit high and batted back to Hall on a nice catch to keep his eye on the ball, second down.
Yeah, the quick play action, Jason, up inside and then bang it out to really what was a one-man screen, and it was very good hands by Hall to corral that one, and he almost broke loose into the corner of the end zone.
Locke incomplete over the middle. Chauncey Gardner, the safety, in front of Albert Okwuegbunam, the tight end.
A great job by Gardner breaking underneath that route, and that big tight end is the guy in the red zone that is a really good closer of routes. They move Albert O all over the place, and this time he's flexed up to the top side in the slot position.
Third down and 4 for Locke. This is caught, touchdown. The tight end, Kendall Blanton, got the foot in.
Another one of those big tight end bodies. Kendall Blanton is a 6'6", 260-pound receiver, and he just goes up high and catches the football. As a quarterback, you're never covered vertically when your receiver can go higher than the defensive back. Taylor was on the coverage, number 29, the safety that was out there on the second team tight end in Blanton, but it was a well-placed football to the 6'6" receiver, and Missouri wins that one.
Think about the tight ends they've had here. Martin Rucker, Chase Kaufman, guys who've done great stuff at points. Tight end U. Blanton with his first touchdown of the year, and you can see in that score his basketball history. He's a former standout basketball player, and he high-pointed that one for the touchdown for Mizzou. The muffed punt leads to it, and the Tigers, against a Florida team under new management, pays off the short field, 7-0 Mizzou.
Honestly have not, nor have I painted my body in any form like that, and if I had some of those bodies, I'd go ahead and keep my shirt on.
Wow. I'm not going to ask what you went as for at Halloween. Lemons on the return, and he is well short of the 20-yard line. So Malik Zaire back to the controls of this offense. His first start at Notre Dame was at 2014 Music City Bowl. Had a huge game against Texas in the opening game of the following season, but he broke his ankle against Virginia in game number 2. So he transfers to Florida pretty late, June 20th of this year, and finally gets his opportunity again after cycling through both Del Rio and Franks to get the starting job. Zaire does have that opportunity, and a guy that Doug Nussmeier said best case scenario, he was going to be our starter this year. That didn't play out. High snap to him, and Pirine on the run across the 20-yard line. So what does Malik Zaire add? What are we going to see today?
Mobility. I think that's the biggest thing. And Doug Nussmeier, the offensive play caller for Florida, can't reinvent a new offense in 5 days, but he can emphasize things that weren't emphasized with Del Rio or Franks, and I think that's what we'll see, which means in this case getting Zaire outside the pocket, getting him on the move a little bit, some zone read stuff, the stuff that made him successful at Notre Dame will work here today as well.
Heavy dose of Pirine so far, and he's tackled by Sherrills nicely short of the line to gain.
Well, this was last week against Georgia, and it's obviously mop-up time, but this is what Zaire brings to the table. He can get outside the pocket when the pocket breaks down, and now it's all about the design outside of the play, and then he reverses field, makes an accurate throw. All of those things, most of which are outside the play call, you got to get from number 8 here today if Florida's going to do something different offensively than they've done all season.
They run it on third down and into the pile. Pirine shoving his way for the first down. So the cousin of Samaje Pirine, LaMichael Pirine, taking over the starting job, and he moves the sticks.
Yeah, Malik Davis, the freshman, was starting to flash big time, and he's out with an ACL. And remember, one of the suspended guys was Jordan Scarlett. He was destined to be, they thought, like a 1,600-yard rusher. He's gone. And so that run game has also been absent. And that run game can be a really good friend to an offense that's struggling, particularly the quarterback position that hasn't gotten untracked in Gainesville.
Zaire fading away, and that's incomplete. DeMarcus Acey on the coverage of Powell, and it looked like Acey had the play call.
He did. It was a screen, a one-man screen. One offensive lineman was getting out there, and Jawan Taylor, and number 17, DeMarcus Acey, broke on the ball before the ball was thrown. That's good recognition.
Well, he was a high school Wildcat quarterback, so he knows the position.
There's another one of those quarterbacks. They're everywhere. They permeate the college football landscape.
Don't I know it? 2 years in a booth with one. They'll run it this time on second down. Lemons, who has shown some athleticism, the freshman out of Clearwater. It's third down.
So how does offensive coordinator Doug Nussmeier get the most out of Malik Zaire? I think that's the question here today. And I think you have to accentuate a part of this offense that wasn't highlighted when McElwain was the head guy. And the quarterback kind of dual threat, zone read stuff, and move the pocket much more than McElwain did with, and actually Nussmeier did with McElwain as the head guy.
Zaire, pressure coming, and he stayed in there to lay it in for a first down to Josh Hammond. And a flag comes in after the play. He got tangled up with Acey, and we'll check the marker.
Tackled by 17, DeMarcus Acey. Penalty flag on the play.
Personal foul, face mask, number 17 on the defense. 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First down.
Josh Hammond was coming on the crossing route, and Malik Zaire had to do a great job of standing in there, and you can see it. DeMarcus Acey got a ton of that face mask, but I really like what I saw out of Zaire right there. It was decent protection. Pressure was getting to Zaire. Sometimes on that crosser, you have to wait extra long, and Zaire put it on Hammond.
Pirine, so second down. We were talking about it off air. You were watching tape of Felipe Franks very quickly shifting in the pocket against Georgia. Kind of a happy feet thing, but part of that's being behind an offensive line that struggled, right?
Yeah, an offensive line that's given up 25 sacks this year. And I equated it to this. I said, let me put a helmet on you and start beating you in the head with a stick, and tell me how long before you start flinching. I mean, that's what it's like sometimes to be a quarterback in the pocket behind an offensive line that has a ton of leakage.
So maybe Zaire gains from not having been in so far this season.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
The ACC may go topsy-turvy later on today. We'll find out. Pirine can't keep his feet. He was hit by the middle linebacker, Cale Garrett. So third down. You think Miami could give Virginia Tech a game, huh?
Oh, I definitely think they can. I actually think that game's more of a toss-up at this point in time.
There's an injured Gator. That is Brett Heggie, who, according to the coaches, has played the best football on the offensive line all year.
And Heggie actually was the one that missed Garrett, the middle linebacker, on that play. And it looked like he got off to a bad start, and it might have been where his leg gave out before he could get to that middle linebacker.
Redshirt freshman from the state of Florida.
And when your redshirt freshman is your most consistent guy up front, you know that you have some issues that underpins that performance up front on the offensive line of scrimmage. So we can talk about the offense not being successful, and we can talk about, the lack of quarterback development. But the bottom line is it all starts up front. You can lose the narrative on the glamour position of the quarterback, but it all starts on the line of scrimmage, and that also was Jim McElwain's expertise, and it just wasn't looking good or trending the right direction.
One of the signals of that, as Heggie is still down, and last week's game against Georgia, I'm talking 7 or 8 pre-snap penalties against the offensive line.
Yeah, and that's just a complete lack of focus and a lack of understanding of what exactly your purpose is on this play. Alignment and assignment, the offensive linemen always have to be tied to, and you can see Brett Hagee stops to try to get to that middle linebacker, Cale Garrett, and something gives out.
The good sign for Florida is that in terms of team camaraderie, Felipe Franks is out there with his offensive linemen, and they will take Hagee off, which is tough to see considering the season he has had in Gainesville. And the last person to say anything to him is Felipe Franks, his former starting quarterback.
Yeah, this is just unfortunate. Brett Hagee is the guard that is designed on this play to get out on Cale Garrett, number 47. As Garrett starts to go underneath, the guard stops, plants, and things give out. That's unfortunate. At 6'4", 330, sometimes those joints can't stop when your mind wants you to.
So Hagee comes off. Florida, which has converted 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 4 already on this drive, has a 3rd down and 6. Pirine tried to stop and go, and he gets swallowed up. Therese Hall was there, along with Trey Williams, the 3rd down specialist. So now 4th down Florida. What are you doing?
I think Florida's punting because the offense right now doesn't really have much of a pulse in the run game. I thought the run decision right there kind of foreshadowed maybe they would go for it on 4th down, but Randy Shannon plays it straight down the line and is playing field position early in this one.
Johnny Townsend to punt for the Gators. Floyd back to return. And this one is batted back into play nicely by the Gators special teams. C.J. Henderson, who had the earlier pick, got it off the 37-yard punt. Don't forget to download the ESPN app because it's your best friend. Every ESPN and ABC college football game live, scores, news, highlights all season long. You can click, get basically every highlight of every game that you're looking for on ESPN or ABC. You can download the ESPN app right now.
I have the app. But you're my best friend.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so nice.
The app is maybe second. I like the app a lot.
Hey, you can watch some of our conversations about alums from the places we visit. You can watch Virginia Tech, Miami, NC State, and Clemson, among others. Mizzou backed up here, and we have whistles. Flag comes in. This may be worth a 1/4 of a yard.
Prior to the snap, false start, 84, offense. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. 1st down. Please reset the game clock to 1 minute, 21 seconds.
From
1-2-1.
the 8th yard line.
It's a pretty good feeling for the defense. It isn't for an offense, especially the quarterback that's lined up 6 yards deep in the end zone. But Florida, a lot of press coverage outside, and that's one of the things that we have to keep an eye on to see how good Missouri does with getting releases off the line of scrimmage and getting quickly into their routes.
Mizzou gets out of that shadow of the end zone with Roundtree. And remember, the Tigers out of conference went down 2-0 on a bad punt safety.
Yeah, you had to bring that up to Barry Odom yesterday. Actually, I may have mentioned that. He didn't really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the throwing me under the bus, but that was you. Across the 10 to the 11, Roundtree tackled by Taylor. So 3rd down and 1 on the way. Nicely done by the Tigers.
Yeah, and the design here is to run it to pick up at least 1 first down, but this drive is starting good from a backed up position.
Locke calls his own number and gets down to the 14. It's a 1st down as Taven Bryan The standout from Casper, Wyoming, made the tackle.
And a little momentum once again. And Josh Heupel loves to press the pace when they have a little rhythm in the drive. I think it's important, too, to understand that right now Missouri fully believes they can run the football on this defensive front from Florida.
Roundtree spinning down to the 18.
And Jason, I don't think it's by chance that Josh Heupel is going to the run game early, because I think his offensive line has been more effective in the last couple of weeks at running the ball, but it's also, I think, testing the will of a Florida defense that, do you want to come up and tackle or do you not? And that is tested in the run game more than any other place in football.
Mizzou taking advantage of that right now. Jim McElwain out, mutual decision, the school says. And Randy Shannon in as the interim coach as Mizzou runs a screen for Jonathan Johnson and breaks it across the 30-yard line. Flag has come in behind the play. The redshirt sophomore does have a first down if it stands.
That's one of the ways that you can attack that press coverage by Florida is the screen game. And you get guys to come out and pick off that press coverage to spring the receiver, and that's what happened there. And this might be on Larry Roundtree III, freshman running back.
There's no foul on the play for an ineligible receiver downfield. The ball was caught behind the line of scrimmage.
And there you go. And if the ball's caught behind the line of scrimmage, all bets are off. There isn't any ineligible downfield, and that was what was called. Good job of picking up the flag, but it was also a really good job by Missouri of attacking that press coverage. Missouri's receivers haven't shown their ability consistently to get off that press coverage.
Moore on the outside. And second down coming for Mizzou, and a program that's looking for its first SEC win of the season and maybe smelling blood a little bit with Florida's week.
Yeah, this is a game that you have to win if you're Missouri and if you want to go the right direction. Idaho and Connecticut is one thing, but beating Florida, regardless of their condition, is a far another matter.
Roundtree absorbs a blow and has a first down as we say hello for the first time to Chris Cotter.
Hello, gentlemen. Time for an AT&T Field Pass, and we're going to go to Penn State, Michigan State. Penn State struck first with a score, but here's Brian Lewerke finding Darrell Stewart to even things up 7-7 right now in East Lansing.
Henderson and Johnson got tangled up, Cotter, as a flag comes in on that play.
Pass interference on the offense, number 84. Penalty is 15 yards from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
They're going to get Emmanuel Hall on the interference.
And Emmanuel Hall is really the vertical threat outside. He's averaging 23.4 yards a catch. And he gets downfield, and Josh Heupel told us that Hall is the guy that really has a knack of getting off the press coverage, but he got caught pushing off on that play.
Locke going deep again, sideline with a dart for Hall inside Florida territory. It's a 36-yard strike to the big play threat from Tennessee.
And the same matchup, Emmanuel Hall on C.J. Henderson, the true freshman, and Hall wins this one.
Roundtree again, a run-heavy first half for Mizzou. How about Hall?
Yeah, the pass interference on the play before. Hall gets on top of C.J. Henderson. That route, a lot of times the vertical is won on the line of scrimmage. It's the work you do against that press coverage on the line. And Emmanuel Hall, according to offensive coordinator Josh Heupel, is the best in that receiving corps at getting off that press coverage.
Locke has an avenue and gets wrangled down on a slide at the 26 by Voshawn Joseph, the redshirt sophomore.
More than the number of runs, Jason, it's the effectiveness of the run when you call it. And Locke keeping the ball on more of a quarterback zone read situation has been very productive so far in this one.
They're going to mark him down a couple yards short of the initial spot. So it's officially 3rd down and 3. Roundtree finds his way to the outside. And Roundtree barreling to the 11 in the arms of Stewart. First down, Mizzou in the run game.
Nice vision and feet by the true freshman Larry Roundtree III, and it was piled up inside on the zone, and then he pops it out to the left.
Bryant tracks him down, but again, Roundtree leans forward. Here's a guy whose only other Power 5 offer out of Raleigh's Millbrook High School was Boston College.
And yesterday, Jason, I asked Josh Heupel to define his skill set, and he said he has great vision and he finishes runs, and you saw it on the play before. The play was designed to be an inside zone play. He presses the line of scrimmage, the vision and the feet to bounce it late.
Mizzou substituted, so can Florida, and a flag has come in.
Illegal substitution on the defense. Number 50, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
That was Jeremiah Moon, who was in the late phases of substituting.
And Randy Shannon is arguing that the defense should have had the right to do that because the offense was substituting, but certainly the officials do not agree with the interim head coach.
Randy Shannon, who was fired at Miami after 4 seasons and a contract extension the year of his ouster, taking over at Florida for the departed McElwain. Lock, fade, end zone, incomplete. Duke Dawson on the coverage, and a flag comes in. Okuai Bonham, the intended target.
Pass interference on the defense. Number 7. Foul occurred in the end zone. The ball will be placed at the 2-yard line. First down.
Very simple design. I'm going to isolate my 6'5" beast of a receiver in Albert O, and then I'm going to throw it up to him. And it's kind of posturing for a rebound, and Duke Dawson is a veteran physical guy in that press coverage, and Albert O wins that one.
Oh, what a big hit by Joseph on Roundtree, keeping him out of the end zone. 2nd and goal. In the postscript on that previous play is Dawson's a former safety, so he sometimes gets a little more handsy than your typical corner.
And that makes him a really physical corner, like you're pointing out. Safeties have to run support down the alley, and a lot of times they're playing the slot receiver, and they're physical with those guys, and he was physical, a little too physical on that play.
2nd and goal, another run. This is Roundtree, touchdown.
Jason, you want to take the temperature of a game? Focus on the line of scrimmage. Right now, there's a team out here that wants to play. There's a team that really doesn't have their heart into it. Watch the push on the line of scrimmage. Watch the finish by the tacklers from Florida at the end. Missouri wants to be there, and they're winning up front. Florida, it's still a question mark in my mind.
Well, if the Gators already lacked some emotion after a draining week, Mizzou sapped some more out of it on a 14-play, 98-yard drive in 5:45. The Missouri Tigers a 2-score lead against Shannon's Gators. Jim McElwain and Florida. He opened the quarterback competition. Malik Zaire won it, gave away the defensive coordinator roles, and moved a couple of coaches around. And Randy Shannon certainly has some experience with this, considering his time after Miami, even at TCU and at Arkansas. And he said, look, this is a business. This game is a business. In 2010, he was fired by Kirby Hocutt, the athletic director at Miami at the time. The next couple of stops, they played Texas Tech, where Kirby Hocutt ended up. and he sought him out and found him out in order to make sure that they got to chat, even though he was fired by the guy. Lemons hit hard as we check in with Chris Cotter.
Right, surprising development early in Bloomington, Indiana and Wisconsin. And Indiana strikes first. Richard Lago hitting Devontae Williams wide open. Now, Wisconsin just scored, but it's still a 3-point lead for Indiana over on ABC. Meanwhile, Penn State strikes again. Here's McSorley to Saeed Blacknall. Nice little move right there to get into the end zone. 14-7 Nittany Lions.
Every time Indiana scores, I imagine Dan Dockich on the sideline getting excited about it from earlier in the year. As we take a look at the AP rankings brought to you by Allstate, you and I both said the same thing after watching the Florida-Georgia tape. We were watching Georgia more than Florida by the end of that game.
Yeah, they definitely caught my eye. And I think the greatest motivator that Saban could have wanted is to be in the number 2 hole. I think he likes that rat poison right there.
Zaire on the rollout, flips it out, and he has Dre Massey up the sideline. A big play for the Gators, just short of midfield.
Jason, you and Kelly were talking about that it looks like one of these teams, as in Florida, doesn't want to be out here. And I've definitely noticed the body language on the sidelines. Malik Zaire came over trying to get his group going, saying, hey, these boys on the other side don't think we can handle their press. We can. And then running backs coach Juwan Sider said, pick your heads up, boys. We're Florida football. Let's play like it.
That play may spark him. We'll find out. Mark Thompson does not get the handoff. Zaire keeps it himself, and a flag comes in. Frazier with the hit. We'll check the marker.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 15. Penalty is 15 yards added to the end of the run. First down.
And Jason, to follow up on what Chris was talking about, Malik Zaire is the linchpin for this game. He's the only significant difference. And so his mobility, his energy, even the little spark he gave them in mop-up time as they were getting boat raced a week ago is what he has to bring here. But it has to have a tangible difference on the field, meaning this drive is essential for this game today.
It's a first down run, and Thompson leaning to the 25. I mean, Malik Zaire's got everything to play for. It's his last opportunity in a college jersey.
There are plenty of guys out there in that position, but it's the quarterback position. It's not a standalone position, but it is kind of the heartbeat of what you're doing on the field. And so Malik Zaire makes some great decisions, some extended plays. You know, make a good play out of a play that was going to be a disaster. That's what he can get done right in now on this drive.
On second down, Zaire, the empty set goes to the outside, and Thompson, who's dragged down short of the line to gain by Anthony Sherrills, the redshirt senior, who Barry Odom says he would love to have for just one more season with their building trust late in his career.
Yeah, one of those fifth-year seniors, and those are the guys that Barry Odom, he wants them to finish well, just like Barry Odom himself finished well here at this same school. But on this drive, Jason, I think it's about Florida. 3rd and 3. You have to get something done on this drive. I think it's vital.
Perine in the Wildcat. And he is short. Some gadgetry by the Gators, and you think they're going to go?
I think if there was ever a 4-down territory with me calling the plays, I definitely would go for it. But I can already see that Randy Shannon has gone to the field goal unit. 4th and 1. I think you take the pulse of your guys up front and say, really? Can we not convert by getting 1 yard? I think you have to throw it down, but they're going to try to at least get the cap off the field goal or off the basket and get 3 points on the board.
Especially after running it on 3rd down. They do kick with Pinedo, and he is good from 38. So Randy Shannon's Gators get their first points in his interim Shakespeare in our last 3 games. Going around town, I'm running out of Tempest and Hamlet references, okay?
That has to be your doing.
No.
You request stuff like that. I swear you do.
Not true. Gators got on the board with a field goal. And Roundtree back to receive for Mizzou. He has a chance from inside the 5. And a strong run across the 30. A couple of weeks ago, after a loss to Auburn, Barry Odom at the podium, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's the narrative. Pen's ready, microphone's on. Let's talk real life. I'm going to win here. We will win. I've seen a damn dark day. This ain't dark days. This is when the going get tough, build in together, fight together. It is not going to be easy. Our team knows that. I know that. Our program knows that. So I'm good. That's the state of our program. That's me. I'm ready to go get this done. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome, Coach.
Seriously. I'm in. I'm 100% in after listening to that.
His timing was quite good, playing Idaho and UConn next couple of weeks as Witter gets himself across the 40-yard line and a first down. Well, look, Barry Odom loves Mizzou. He is Tigers through and through after playing here, and you can sense that he's a little frustrated, but he said, look, part of that was because I needed my coaches to hear it. Second down coming up.
But he also needed his players. He said, really, that wasn't directed at the media. My players hear this in the locker room every single day, but I think that they needed to see me say that publicly, and it's clearly responded.
Lock to throw for Moore down the sideline, and he reels it in. Jamon Moore ahead of Marco Wilson, and a first down, Mizzou.
Mizzou is not bashful about throwing the ball on verticals down the field. They want to run it effectively, but if you blink, they're going to go by you on a vertical. And Moore won on the press coverage right there. That hasn't been Moore's wheelhouse against press coverage, but that time he got on top of the defender, Marco Wilson, got vertical, and then Locke dropped it in his shirt pocket.
Locke wants a timeout. After the 43-yard gain, Mizzou calls timeout. The top returning receiver in the SEC from last year, Jamon Moore, making his presence felt today. Florida and driving thanks to a big play to Jamon Moore, the senior. Witter, the hesitation, and he got by a couple of tacklers inside the 15. Well, you can tell what Mizzou wants to do today. That's run the ball.
Yeah, that's a will breaker. I think it's a will tester early in this one. And
the injured player, by the way, is Jabari Zuniga, the redshirt sophomore for Florida. And here's what got Mizzou down the field.
Yeah, Florida's MO is press coverage on the line of scrimmage, and Jamon Moore matched up on Marco Wilson down at the bottom, and it's poor technique. There isn't a jam at the line of scrimmage. It allows Moore just to get vertical quickly over the top of Wilson. That's way too easy, and that's different than what Florida typically presents on the outside. They, a lot of times, make it really difficult for receivers to get into their routes, disrupt the timing. That was not a good look at press coverage.
And that which we just showed you is an improvement week to week for Jamon Moore, who has had some difficulty in his career with press coverage.
Last year against Florida and LSU, by the way, he had one catch apiece, and the technique was in-your-face press coverage. Yes, it was more elite corners at the time in both situations, and Moore was somewhat inexperienced, but you could see right there he's advanced, and Florida has taken a step back in that technique to some degree defensively.
Under 6 to go, first half. Second down, Mizzou. Lock over the middle, wide open. Touchdown, Ish Witter. And with that touchdown, Drew Lock passes Brad Smith for second all-time in touchdown passes.
Ish Witter is going to come out of the backfield and end up being ISO'd on Christian Garcia, the outside linebacker. And I'll take that matchup every play if I'm Missouri. Spread it out, get your running back and or tight end at times on guys that can't cover them. There's a great look at it on that play. Wow, Missouri's making it look really, really easy.
Only guy now for Drew Lock to catch in the passing touchdown category is Chase Daniel with this one to Ish Witter. Mizzou quick, and Mizzou thought that as well with Randy Shannon taking over as the interim head coach. We talked to him yesterday, very ready for the game. Steeled for this by his experiences, but his team trails big.
Yeah, he was ready for the game, but his team hasn't proved that they're ready for the game.
This boot goes out of the end zone. The 25 is where Florida will get it as we take a look at how we got here, and it was a muff punt that started it.
Yeah, the mistake led to the gate opening, and Missouri took advantage of it, paid it off in multiple ways. You can finish by passing, you can finish by running. All of it is testing the will of a Florida defense that doesn't seem real engaged here today. 3 straight TD drives by Missouri, 262 total yards, 145 on the ground that I think always test the heart of a defense.
Just 83 total yards for this offense. And Thompson, the senior tailback, driven back at the 27. Let's not forget, as we showed you the college football playoff rankings earlier, let's not forget these are the last 4 divisional champions in the SEC East.
Yeah, no question. I mean, Jim McElwain is out of a job, and his last 2 seasons he ended up in the SEC championship game. And I know
Mizzou.
things in Mizzou the 2 years before that. So you're exactly right. And Mizzou is trending the right direction. I think Barry Odom has found a formula that he thinks will work long term here, and Florida is now kind of reestablishing themselves. They're trying to find themselves.
Zaire has it ripped off. Anthony Sherrill's got in front of it.
Zaire was really locked onto this route, and it gave the safety Anthony Sherrill's time to get over the top. It's a smash route, a route underneath in the flat, and then a corner route. That could have been picked off by 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 different players, but Anthony Sherrill's read the quarterback, broke on the ball, and finished the play.
A young man who was in a car accident 4 years ago, had a traumatic brain injury, had to relearn to walk. And he's had an outstanding game this afternoon. Lock, laser to Emmanuel Hall, and a first down Mizzou. But you talk about Anthony Sherrill's, a young man whose trust is building in Barry Odom. You can tell Coach Odom wants to see him leave in the best mindset possible. He said, look, sometimes he'll just show up in my office, take a nap. The trust is certainly building. Larry Roundtree into the end zone for a touchdown, Mizzou.
21-yard touchdown by number 33, Larry Roundtree.
Jason, I literally think the crowd here is somewhat stunned by the lack of participation out of Florida currently. I don't think they've ever seen anything like this, and Missouri's doing what they should, taking full advantage of a lackluster performance by Florida, to say the least.
And Malik Zaire with some splaining to do to Doug Nussmeier and his coaches after taking over this job. Threw into some coverage and set up the touchdown for Larry Roundtree. The Mizzou backs are having a career game together.
And it has been the Missouri run game that I think was the litmus test for this game to begin with. But Zaire was late on the throw, and that obviously was a problem. There's a corner route. He came to it late, and Sherrills was able to break on the ball. But look how many Florida defenders are standing up and the dreadful tackling. Tackling's about desire first and foremost. What is your intention when you get to the guy with the ball? And right now, the intentions aren't real good out of Florida. I know these young men have been through a lot, and it's the student athlete that is left to pick up the pieces. As head coaches get paid millions of dollars to come, a lot of times they get millions more to exit, and the student athletes are left to pick up the pieces, and it's difficult, but Florida has to have a better response in them than this.
Gators get it back with a touchback as we check in with Chris Connor.
All right, Dave and Buster's halftime report coming your way in just a little bit. Chip Kelly, Jonathan Vilma are here with me, and we've got a couple of battles in the Big Ten. Wisconsin just went up on Indiana, but that's close. And Penn State and Michigan State and East Lansing. We'll show you highlights of both those games. Plus, the slate today for the rest of the day is amazing. We'll preview all these big games and more. Dave and Buster's halftime report. Guys, we'll see you then.
Could be another upside-down week for the college football playoff. The rankings just came out for the first time this week, and they will subsequently come out as we go week to week. But this Gators team right now, that is a far-fetched situation in terms of the college football playoff rankings as Pirine gets drilled.
The one player who I've noticed for Florida whose attitude has been unchanged is Malik Zaire. After that interception, he came over to that sidelines. The coaches wanted to talk to him on the headset, and he waved them off. His priority was going to talk to his teammates, apologize, talk about what went wrong on that play, and is still trying to get the rest of his line and the rest of his wide receivers into this one.
And at that quarterback position, Chris, a lot of times if you press, bad things happen. You can't make more happen than what is there to happen on the play.
Zaire with a line drive to Tyree Cleveland, just his second catch since coming back from injury, and one of the big play threats they'd like to have more from.
Yeah, and that time it was Zaire getting outside the pocket, and I think that's where he needs to live. Doug Nussmeier needs to put Zaire on the move. It's a similar route. It was a deep over route, but it ended up in the same place on the field, and Zaire's outside the pocket. He had a cleaner look at it and made a really nice throw.
Pirine on first down is into Mizzou territory, even deeper to the 41. Gain of 15 as Sherrills took him down.
And there is an opportunity against this Missouri defense to run the ball. It's something that defensively has been improving recently from Missouri's defense, but there's an opportunity there if the guys up front for Florida are interested.
And this is also an opportunity, you would imagine, for the Gator players to say, look, we are not what we were the first 7 games and even the first half of this game.
Yeah, without a question. But Jason, what kind of changes could you make, even mentally, in 5 days? I mean, it's really difficult for student athletes to make that much progress. But you can show that you're engaged and your heart is into this. And I'm not seeing a lot of signs that that's true out of Florida currently.
Play action, Zaire. He loads up down the sideline. Good ball. Cleveland into the end zone for a touchdown.
Touchdown, Gators.
There is a flag down, and we'll see if it stands.
Penalty flag on the play.
Flag all the way back at the 43-yard line. And what a gut punch this would be for the Gators.
And Zaire certainly thinks this is coming back. He was standing there with both hands on his head for some time, but certainly taking a long time to decide what it is.
The conversation continues.
Holding On the offense, number 51. Penalty is 10 yards from the previous spot. Replay, second down.
So with that, how do you get, here we go again, out of your heads if you're wearing white and orange?
It becomes increasingly more difficult to do what you just said, and I think they corrected the holding on 73 Martez Ivy as opposed to Antonio Riles, the right guard. Well designed. It's the left tackle out wide in the end that the official called the hold on. Well designed play action pass, a deep over route slash crossing route, and then it's the vertical to Cleveland that Zaire drops in there, but all for naught currently.
Zaire loads it up again, down the middle, wide open, Dre Massey inside the 15-yard line for the Florida Gators. They got another one. That one for 37.
Two consecutive times that Missouri gets their eyes in the wrong place in the secondary and drops coverage. Massey was unimpeded down the middle of the field, and that should not happen. A lot of times it's two high safeties and the middle linebacker running deep in coverage.
P. Ryan driven back, and he'll get nothing on that play. Second down, under 2 minutes to go. Florida has not enjoyed much success in getting to the red zone, but when they do, they've done fairly well for themselves.
Yeah, 71% getting touchdowns. I mean, that's elite in college football. The problem is they only have 12 of them. I'm talking about touchdowns. That obviously is not good.
Mizzou shows blitz and comes. Zaire is nailed. Terry Beckner Jr., the five-star recruit.
And Florida had stacked receivers out to both sides, and it was going to be a quick screen. This ball was supposed to come out quickly. And if you don't get rid of it when the play's designed to let it go, and that was really, I think, an RPO the more I look at that. It was screen outside, quarterback draw inside, and I think Zaire was intending to keep that on a draw, and it wasn't there.
Under 30 seconds, first half. Mizzou rushes three. It's another screen. It's P. Ryan, and it's Beckner again, tracking him down on the edge this time. So what does Florida do with its timeouts? Do you burn one to kick the field goal with like 2 seconds? What do you think?
I think that's probably what they're going to do, is let it run down and kick it with not much time left. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see.
Florida, they're first.
You know, Jason, that screen, it's a simple concept. You're blocking out front, a swing by the running back, and you throw the ball, but it's about ball placement to running backs. That was a back shoulder throw, and if the ball's out in front, he has a chance to get more on that one.
How about Terry Beckner Jr., the defensive lineman? He's out of East St. Louis, has dealt with some knee troubles, but he was one of those cornerstone recruits a couple of years ago, number 2 in the ESPN 300, and he's shown up on back-to-back plays.
And he is one of those SEC defensive tackles. I mean, the explosiveness, the quickness, and if you're the quarterback, sometimes it just envelops you before you have a chance, but Beckner was designed to be blocked on that play. He's explosive and quick, but much more so if you're not blocked at all.
Pinedo from 36 for a final positive for Florida in this first half. And the Gators will go to halftime with 6 points on the board on a couple of field goals. Florida in yardage in the first half, and the first game for Randy Shannon as interim head coach for the Gators has not gone well, although Florida will get the ball out of halftime. What do you want to see from the Gators?
Points, get in the end zone, changing attitude up front on the line of scrimmage for Florida offensively.
McCann has been a touchback machine. This one again. Time for today's Game Track, brought to you by Cabela's.
And Zaire is the guy that needs to get it going. He's been efficient, but the one interception, he stared down a receiver, and that didn't go well. And Missouri's offense. I mean, when they got untracked and started really by running the football, I think was the attitude tester for that Florida defense, and Missouri just ran downhill ever since.
Quick touchdown drives as well for the Tigers, who will be on defense to start the half. LaMichael Pirine, the tailback for Florida. Pirine gets run down at the line as we check in with Chris Button, who talked to Barry Odom.
We're not mature enough to think that we can just walk in here with a lead. That is what Barry Odom told his team at halftime, that they want to think that it's 0-0 starting from scratch. I also caught up with Randy Shannon. He was actually not very upset. He said, we've showed some big playability, but the holding, the penalties, they keep holding us back. If we can play smarter, we show we can move the football.
And that's a big if, because that has actually been, Chris, what's been happening to this offense the entire season.
Nearly got shut out last week. Zaire got him a late touchdown then. Here he goes to his tight end, and Lewis dropped it. Deontay Lewis covered by Hall, the linebacker, and it's third down.
Trez Hall actually went up and competed for that football, and that's what you have to do. He's covering the receiver, Lewis, and the ball's in the air. It's about the competition at the apex of that throw, and Hall knocks that ball loose late. A 3rd and 10 on the first drive of the second half seems awfully important to me if you're Florida.
Seems like deja vu, too. Play clock down to 5. And they're going to call a timeout just in time before the play clock hits 0.
They're first.
Zaire literally lost track of the play clock. And that's, I think, a little bit of rust, having not been out there a great deal. But the little clap of the hands afterwards mean, dang it, I forgot that essential element.
Let me ask you, as a former quarterback who came in at times as the second guy, what is the thing that you should know that goes away?
That, when you walk into a stadium as the starting quarterback, usually what happened with me, a lot of times the offensive coordinator literally walked on the field with you and pointed out where the play clocks are. Those type of thing. Pre-snap administration, getting in the huddle, getting out of the huddle, getting my guys lined up right. And then, oh, by the way, I have to execute a play at a high level. You know, it's the pre-snap stuff, and then you hope you're buttoned up on the execution of the play stuff.
That's what Malik Zaire is feeling after weeks on the bench. Hall showing blitz from the linebacker spot. Here comes Mizzou. Hall, the delayed blitz, and this goes to Powell over the middle for a first down. Florida, nice throw.
Great throw, great catch. Powell actually high points this, and the ball is behind him. The middle of the field is open, and then it's the driving of the pass, but the finish by Brandon Powell was really, really good on that pass. But once again, convert, extend the drive early in this second half, and see if you can create your own momentum here early in this one.
Zaire rolling and throwing again to the tight end. This time Goolsby into Mizzou territory. It's second and manageable on the way.
And the boot getting Zaire out of the pocket a little bit again. And this time it's just a boot and the tight end leaks out into the flat. But I think that's exactly where Zaire needs to be and exactly how offensive coordinator Doug Nussmeier needs to use him in this second half.
Saw that some in the first half as well, to some success. Second and 1. Zaire doubles back and flips it away. Pirine on the run. LaMichael Pirine down to the 30-yard line, and the energy on the Florida sideline spikes.
And this is what Zaire brings to the table. It's the impromptu ability outside the design of the play. That was a sack waiting to happen because it was play action, nobody downfield, but it's keeping the play alive, make something exciting happen in your favor, and Malik Zaire does that right there.
Timeout is for the injured Brandon Lee, the redshirt junior linebacker for Mizzou, who got the starting spot late last season. But on Zaire, that's part of what we saw at Notre Dame when he was the starter for the Irish.
Absolutely. I mean, at Notre Dame, he's a dual threat guy, but that's the design of the play. What I like with dual threat guys, it means he's mobile and can make some things happen and extend plays, and that was a play extension right there.
Perine running hard to the 25, and you wonder what would have happened at Notre Dame without the injury to Zaire. DeShone Kizer took over, ends up in the NFL, but Zaire was playing lights out, especially that first game against Texas in 15.
First game against Texas, 19 of 22 for 300 plus yards and a gaggle of touchdowns, and they ran the Longhorns out of the stadium, and the next week he breaks his ankle.
Zaire collapsed on, short of the line of scrimmage, and it's a third down coming up.
Well, Stevens, the tight end, was supposed to slash across the formation and kick out the defender that ended up getting to Malik Zaire on that read play. Poor blocking by Stevens, the tight end.
Third down and 5, call it for the Gators. Zaire to throw, and he throws an absolute laser to Goolsby for a first down.
You heard that up here. Whew. Hit him right between the 3 and the 0, and it was a confident, driven throw. But more importantly, it was a drive extender now deep into the red zone.
Zaire 4 for 5 to open the half. Those 4 in a row. First down from the 19. Perine hit initially by Hall low, and second down.
There is a little different sense to me watching Malik Zaire in this second half. There's a little bit of kind of wiggle in his step, confidence in his stride, and he's playing like it currently. Much more decisive here on this drive than he was in the entire first half.
Perine keeps his feet, and first and goal for the Gators. Marcel Frazier, the redshirt senior out of Portland, Oregon, with the stop. What are you seeing from Zaire that leads you to that conclusion?
Just the way he's conducted himself, the way he's driving throws, the way he's conducting things at the line of scrimmage before the snap. Confident all the way around.
One more time on the ground, and the door closed quickly. Anthony Sherrills hammered Perine.
Great finish by a safety on a run deep in the red zone. 22, Anthony Sherrills is just going to come up as you need to. Slide across the line of scrimmage, square up, and Perine, the running back, number 22 from Florida, is a physical dude, and Sherrills would have none of it.
Looked like he dinged his shoulder earlier and kind of favoring it there as well. Thompson in, and he gets it and gets dropped. Thompson got lit up in the backfield by Tavon Ross.
Penetration down deep in the red zone is everything, and it looks like right here certainly is the money down on this drive. Third and goal. Florida needs to get in the end zone. Enough threes for the day, quite frankly, and they need to finish this one out. They've had more life on this drive. This drive needs to end in the success of a touchdown. See, there you go, Malik Zaire getting guys in the right position. He's not tentative, although now he has to burn a timeout.
That is the second timeout used by Florida in the second half.
This will be a 30-second timeout.
5 tackles for loss already by Mizzou in this game. They were second in the SEC last year, and the defensive metrics weren't great, but they have been a big play defense in terms of tackles for loss.
Yeah, their sack number is great, and that has been the MO here at Missouri for quite some time. And really, it was a moment in time where Barry Odom said, you know what, last year about midseason, it wasn't going well. His roster was built to be aggressive and get those pressure numbers. And so he took over the play calling, and it has been trending the right direction. And this year, they lost some dudes on the defensive side of the ball, but they've been playing better as of late. But to me, Jason, this drive is about whether Malik Zaire can finish the Gators in the end zone, and this is where the dual threat ability of a quarterback needs to show up. Get Zaire out on the edge and give him an option to run it or to throw it to an open guy.
And movement on the line. It was Jawan Taylor, the right tackle.
Prior to the snap, false start, 65 on the offense. 5-yard penalty, third down.
That was the major problem last week against Georgia.
That has been the major problem in every game this season to some extent, certainly on the offensive side of the ball. It makes the task more difficult in the red zone here, but it certainly doesn't make it impossible.
This was goal to go from the 1. It's back at the 11.
Alert quarterback draw out of the empty set.
He tries. Zaire looking to throw. Weaving outside, and Hall takes him to the paint. 4th down and goal if you're Randy Shannon. You said you got to get in the end zone. You going for it?
I am going for it, and I can already see that Randy Shannon isn't as he brings out his field goal kicker once again. But threes aren't going to cut it today. Remember what you have on the opposite side of the matchup here. You have a Missouri offense that, quite frankly, didn't even meet a speed bump after the first drive in that first half. You need 7s in this second half if Florida's going to get back in this one.
Is the reason confidence here? Having your players get confidence?
Yeah, I think threes don't give you confidence when you have a drive like that. Going for it and potential of getting one into the end zone gives you confidence.
Pinedo good from 24. The Gators do get points, but it takes nearly half of the third quarter.
And they've been hot for quite some time now.
Pinedo on the kick. Roundtree back to receive from inside the 5. Roundtree across the 35, inviting contact, so they get the stop to force the field goal, and then a strong return. And here's how it happened.
I mean, Florida tries to close out by P. Ryan first, trying to get in the end zone, and Sheriffs would have none of it. And then Thompson tries to get in the end zone, and Ross would have none of it. And Zaire gets loose, tries to make something happen, but Missouri rallies and gets him out of bounds. And that's where I throw the hammer down and say, you know what, boys? We've driven the football down to that point. This needs to be a touchdown. I think a field goal, quite frankly, feels like a letdown to me.
So why do it?
I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest with you.
Witter the back, and he's met by both Reese and Gardner as a flag comes in at the end of the play.
Do you have an answer to that why do it question? I don't.
I was asking you because I don't know.
I don't have one. We call that a
illegal
rhetorical
formation. 5 players in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
The argument that I would make would be that you want to get points to build confidence that the score is as close as you can have it.
That is lame. Completely lame. I'm not even going to slightly agree with that. I know that's not your opinion, but
Lock over the middle, and Albert O couldn't hang on. Gardner almost picked it.
Kelly, I know you're going to disagree, but down here on the Florida sideline, they viewed that field goal as a victory, as they did their previous ones as well. Watching this sideline, they're congratulating each other. Zaire coming up, hey guys, we're just this close to getting in the end zone. We'll get there next time.
Lame.
Lock to throw, and that was almost picked by Duke Dawson. And we check in with Chris Cotter.
All right, guys, big surprise down at Starkville. UMass is just hanging with Mississippi State. Nick Fitzgerald, well, he's going to keep it himself and go in practically untouched. But this just ties the game right now, 20-all on the SEC network.
Lou Rowe, Edgar Padilla, and Marcus Camby all together for UMass. How about that game? Over the middle, and this is going to be well short on the pass to Hall. Look, Mississippi State is at the center of some of this talk involving the Florida Gators, and Dan Mullen, with his ties to Scott Strickland and his ties to this program, that's a name that's been floated.
He does kind of fit the criteria that Florida has put in place potentially for their next head coach, but hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about that as this one goes along.
Fatoni, a tremendous punter, sends it all the way back to the 11, and Powell across the 25. So the Gators have some emotion on that sideline, as you see. Gators get it back after a 1:07 3 and out for Mizzou. Zaire turns it upfield and gets dashed at the 32 by Garrett. You watched Scott Strickland's press conference and saw what he might want out of a new head coach at Florida.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Offensive innovation, get some excitement going again. Someone that can develop quarterbacks, certainly recruiting in the state of Florida, and then the high character to stand the heat that is the SEC. Those are just three really, really good examples. If you and I formed a search firm, those were three guys that we would present to Florida.
Third down coming up. Which one do you think would be the best fit if you had to choose?
Scott Frost, in my mind, would be incredibly hard to pass up. He's young. He kind of has a little edge to him. He's getting some really good things done currently at Central Florida. I love what he does on the offensive side. He obviously has a reputation in the state of Florida that you have to be well suited in to win at Florida. So it would be hard if I could get that guy, but I don't think you could go wrong with the other two either.
Third down and a timeout, Florida. That's the final timeout for the Gators.
Timeout.
In less than 10
Florida.
minutes
Their
in the
and
third
final
quarter.
timeout of the half.
Some shape shifting on the coaching staff and a few timeouts used administratively. Donors who helped pay for the sculpture, and big 3rd down and 2 around the corner for Mizzou's defense. P. Ryan, the tailback, and he runs into his own man and gets driven back. The run stuffer A.J. Logan was there along with Trey Williams, and Logan, just back from a suspension, makes a big play.
And A.J. Logan is that space occupier at 6'2", 330 pounds, and he actually just comes in and blows up the blocking scheme. Multiple guys at the point of attack, the edge is set, and then A.J. Logan cleans up inside.
This goes out of bounds as we say hello to Chris Cotter. What do you have, Chris?
Well, I got a superstar at Texas Tech. Kiki QT is pretty much unstoppable. Nick Shimonek's already gone to him for one long play earlier in the game, and then here stays in bounds. It was reviewed, and it's good. So Texas Tech up 21-17.
Don't go breaking their heart, Kiki. Time for the college football playoff rankings, brought to you by Allstate. Georgia #1 with a game against South Carolina later. Alabama, LSU. But those ACC games are huge. Clemson, NC State, Miami, Virginia Tech.
And the beautiful thing is, I mean, I think the committee has it right currently. And there's a lot of football to be played, and things are going to sort themselves out because of the magnitude of games coming down the line, including today.
Just a couple weeks left in the regular season. Missouri will run, and Roundtree gets demolished by Reese, met right in the hole for a gain of 1. Who's the team in that top 10 but outside the top 4 that you think has the best shot of breaking in?
I mean, certainly you have to think of Oklahoma and Ohio State. I think the way they're playing, but again, Oklahoma State is in bedlam today against, Oklahoma against Oklahoma State. So
here comes the flag.
Wow.
It's on Henderson, who had the interception earlier. He trampled Nate Brown.
Penalty flag on the play.
That's all you can do, Flag.
Pass interference on the defense, number 5. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
C.J. Henderson has had some issues at time today in that press coverage. It's all about the release on the line of scrimmage, and he was in great shape, but just didn't make a play on the ball late. Decent at the line of scrimmage, but a poor finish by C.J. Henderson.
Roundtree absorbs 1 tackle and gets thrown down by Joseph. Second down. Did you see the sign from game day at Bedlam? Some Oklahoma State fan had a sign that said, "Even your mascot is a bandwagon."
And there you see Felipe Franks warming up. Maybe that may foreshadow him coming into the game.
Lock to Jonathan Johnson. And he's across midfield. It's a first down. Look, Randy Shannon told us, "I want to play one quarterback in this game," but the smile on the face of Franks suggests otherwise.
You can see Zaire sitting down there with a headset and Frank's warming up behind. Who knows at this point what's going on there?
Lock to the sideline. Deep ball, end zone. Oh, what a grab by Hall.
That certainly is a matchup that Missouri has gone back to multiple times. Emmanuel Hall matched up on C.J. Henderson out wide. The press coverage, the infighting down the field, and a good finish, but a really good throw. Hall was, you can see, going down to the ground. It'll be interesting to see. I think this is being looked at currently to see if Emmanuel Hall actually finishes this play.
Question is, would he be down at the half-yard line? The ball just needs to clear a very small sliver, the very front end of the goal line, and it looks as though,
yeah.
And now it gets stopped.
Take a further look. I think this is a good job by the replay booth.
The previous play is under further review. The ruling on the field was a touchdown.
The catch is secure. I don't think there's a question, but it's the touchdown. That initial knee that was down doesn't matter because it was off the ground by the time he made the catch. And then does the bounce essentially happen to get him in the end zone?
The other question is, when did he have full possession of that ball? Because it's not immediately upon contact with his hands, it's when he brings it in. So if the possession they deem was late, and again, we're starting with indisputable video evidence as the necessary rubric, if he caught that ball officially late in the action, that's going to be a touchdown and either stand or be confirmed.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because catch or no catch isn't the reviewable part here. It's touchdown or not. And I think you're right. If he doesn't secure it initially, his momentum got him into the end zone by the time he
After
actually
further
does secure
review,
it.
the runner was down short of the goal line at the 1-foot line. The ball will be placed at the 1-foot line. First down, Missouri.
That was a quick review to come up with that solution,
Yeah.
don't you think?
I like quick reviews, though.
No matter what, another gash play for the Mizzou offense, and Locke, who has been so dynamic, already third on the Mizzou passing list coming into today. He's now second in the touchdown pass list, and he's only a junior. From the 1 foot line, Roundtree, a play later, gets in.
Jason, offense is made so much easier when you don't always have to drive it to get points. You can get explosive plays, gash plays, splash plays, however you want to call them, to get down there and then finish a drive off like that.
Missouri has 3 guys in the top 10 in the country. That's the Auburn team that may have helped turn the corner for Mizzou here. After that game, we showed you Barry Odom's comments after a big loss to Auburn. He said, look, we're going the right direction. I know how to do this thing. And they've won 2 in a row, going on 3 with this current destruction of the Gators as Lemons gets taken down by Frazier. Barry Odom is a defensive guy. He's got linebacker blood. He said, look, I knew that I wanted to be a coach as of middle school, essentially.
Yeah, and he's a very good one. I truly believe that. The defensive focus, that's his background. He has the right concept on the offensive side of the ball as well.
Florida says this is on Mizzou and Palmore. We'll see. Zaire staying in and trying to fight for his guys.
Offside on the defense, number 99. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
It's on the junior, Walter Palmore, who missed the last couple games with a knee injury. Little trick play, and Dre Massey gets popped. Flag comes in behind the play in the area where a holding may be.
Holding, number 30 on the offense. Penalty is 10 yards from the previous spot. Replay, second down.
It's on Goolsby, and the Mizzou defense improves its field position at the moment. And Barry Odom came back from Memphis, and you see the rankings getting better every year under Justin Fuente.
And especially in the SEC, I think you start by building the defensive side of the ball, and then you have to get the appropriate fit on the offensive side as well. And Barry Odom brought Josh Heupel in for that very reason. I think they're running the right scheme offensively. It matches Odom's attitude on the defensive side of the ball really well.
Design run for Zaire, and he could not get away from Rashad Brandon, who got some jersey and yanked him down with Lee. That's a lively defense right now.
Yeah, and I think it was a tipping point when Barry Odom took over the defense midway through last season and changed the attitude and became more aggressive again that he thought fit his roster, and it shows up on down and distances like this. 3rd and 10, Malik Zaire better be careful right here.
Blitz coming. Zaire saw it and let it rip, incomplete. Powell couldn't hang on. Caleb Pruitt with a big blitz coming in. And another injured Florida player with 4th down looming. It's the center, TJ McCoy. So for Randy Shannon, not exactly what he was looking for in terms of competitiveness on the scoreboard. Some positivity on a few drives, but field goals is all that the Gators could pull out of the first half. And they'll check on McCoy, the redshirt sophomore out of the state of Florida.
McCoy, the starting center, and remember in the first half, 61 Brett Hagee went down and hasn't re-entered the game as well. So it just isn't going the right direction if you're a Florida Gator fan.
So Townsend will punt as McCoy comes off. And Floyd back to receive. That is not a great punt, but it does get a favorable bounce as we take a look at today's defensive spotlight, brought to you by Prestone, and it's the safety Anthony Sherrills. He did everything. Turnover machine.
Yeah, the interception and feeling really well and tackling on the goal line. And that is that guy that you talked about him. He has a great story. And because of his upbringing and all of those things Barry Odom talked about, he has really a trust issue. And all of a sudden the head coach walks in and Sheriffs is taking a nap on his couch. I think he's starting to trust the system and trust his head coach in particular.
This is Witter to the 30. Second down. I mean, you come to school and you're typically in FBS football the best player from your high school, or one of the top players. He comes to school 2013, gets into a severe car accident, Sherrills, and has to relearn to walk, a traumatic brain injury, and he has become a standout safety who leads the team in starts for his career. Third down, and in a week when Florida changes coaches, and there's a lot of talk about what that does to the student athletes, here is an absolute winning story in FBS football, Sherrills.
And Barry Oldham's told us that he wishes Sheriffs had one more year, as you talked about earlier, and the reason why was for Sheriff's benefit, to be in this environment.
Third down and 5 for the Tigers out of the quarter break. Lock, slant, and a first down. Jamon Moore moves the sticks for Mizzou. They wanted them to be more competitive the last few weeks. And you see, with the Florida coaching change, less than 5 years at your own program in the Power 5, 65% of the coaches are in that department as the Tigers continue to move the football. I mean, 2 years plus and out for McElwain is a little bit below the average, but it's not far from that. So not a whole lot of time to build your programs in college football nowadays. Randy Shannon was at Miami for 4 seasons and was fired after a contract extension that year. Slot receiver Floyd to the 45, Chris Cotter.
Let's check back in with Wisconsin and Indiana. Indiana not going away. Richard Lago finding Simi Cobbs Jr. Wrestles the ball away from the defender. Flag was on the defender, so it counts. 7-point lead for Wisconsin over on ABC.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense. Penalty is 15 yards
Good
from
one
the end
in
of
the
the
Big
run.
Ten there.
Automatic first
and
down.
And a face mask here against the Gators, who have had some things go wrong penalty-wise today.
Yeah, the screen out wide, and defender Duke Dawson trying to get up and get to that screen quickly. And sometimes that happens. You just get your hand in the wrong place. But Missouri doesn't need any help today offensively.
Low snap. Witter makes something out of it anyway to the 24. But the point being about the short tenures for Power 5 coaches is you never know if you're going to have that opportunity to really construct from the ground up.
Yeah, less and less of an opportunity. If you don't make it happen immediately in the Power 5s, the takeaway from that percentage is you're just not going to be around to reap the rewards.
C.C. Jefferson was early for Florida here.
Offside on the defense, number 96. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
You know, Randy Shannon was talking to us earlier this week, yesterday, about how he tried to help Jim McElwain through the change as well and make sure that he didn't feel completely frozen out by the people who were surrounding him. First down for Mizzou. They'll run it again with Witter. And he goes straight up the gut, Chris.
Jason, you talk about the short tenures and how that affects the players. That means players that stay 4 years at a college, most of them very likely will see a coaching change during their time at school. And Randy Shannon told his guys this week, hey, you want to go play in the NFL? This happens there too. This will prepare you. Look at the 49ers, 2 coaches change after 2 years. So this was their way of kind of letting them know how to prepare them for what's next.
First down, Mizzou, and certainly, Cal, you've seen it. I mean, in the NFL, there are coaching changes all over the place.
Oh, no question. It's just interesting that that's the lesson with college football players now, is we're going to have this turnover, so you might as well get used to it. It's exactly what the coaching profession has become. You saw it in the NFL for quite some time, but it's caught up now because of the big money on the college football side. And Barry Odom told us that about 79% of college football players at the FBS level don't finish with the coaching staff they started with. That's a big number.
Locke to the outside, and he kept his feet for a moment. Gardner finally drove him back. Chauncey Gardner thought he'd reached the end of the line, and that wasn't true right away. With some post-play malfeasance going on the far sideline. Well, if you're the Gators, there's emotion pent up from this week, and it's going to come out somewhere.
Yeah, no question about it. And you saw a little bit of it there. The emotion hasn't come out in the right way enough times in this game to make Florida competitive up to this point. But they were also, let's set the table with the fact that this Missouri offense was playing well coming into this game. And so this Florida defense was going to have to show up and play well, and they just simply have not done that.
Locke into the end zone for the touchdown. Jamon Moore puts it away.
The run pass option deep in the red zone is a killer. It's the zone run inside to invite those second level defenders up. And if your slant wins outside, as Jamon Moore did, then you just pull it if you're Locke and throw it out as Moore beats Marco Wilson on the quick slant.
Well, Barry Odom told us about recruiting. He wants to get the best kids from Missouri and increase the footprint in the state of Texas. Jamon Moore is from Missouri City, Texas. He's the perfect middle ground.
All those things, but it's on the defensive side of the ball also that I like. There's the right trends showing up there. They're playing better on third down. They're getting better on first and second to get to third down. All of those things work well right now for Missouri.
Another touchback for Mizzou, Chris Cotter.
Gentlemen, check out this play in the Texas Tech Kansas State game. Nick Shimanek, of course they're going to throw from the 1 yard line. Oh, knuckler coming out there right into the arms of Dylan Cantrell. Kansas State, though, is just retaking the lead, as you would expect, back and forth in that one. Meanwhile, Iowa State showing up. Cyclones, one of the surprise teams of the year. Still in contention in the Big 12, taking on West Virginia. They're going to kick here on ESPN2 in about 52 minutes, guys.
And we'll send it there after this game. How about Matt Campbell, though? He can coach. The kid from Mount Union who's taken Iowa State into complete relevance, if not prominence. So the Gator offense, which narrowly avoided being shut out for the first time in 368 games last week, still without a touchdown today as Tyree Cleveland goes whirling across the 35 and a first down for Florida and Malik Zaire. It's been 22 straight games with a touchdown for the Gators, who are well known, maybe to coaches' detriment sometimes, well known for their offense. seeking their 5th head coach since Steve Spurrier. That is the most in the SEC, tied with Ole Miss. As finally gravity takes care of Pirine. Frazier pushed him there, and 2nd down coming up.
So whoever the next head coach of Florida is going to be, I think that's at the top of the list, is offensive innovation. I think Florida has had a defensive culture and mindset that runs deep in the program really ever since Steve Spurrier to Urban Meyer to Tim Tebow, and it's been about the defensive side. And the offensive, I think, has been kind of beaten down, hard to establish. The next guy is going to have to get that going in a big way.
Quarterback will be a big part of that as well as some flags come in.
Prior to the snap, false start. 64 on the offense.
Yeah, it's on
5-yard
Jordan.
penalty.
But I mean, you look,
Still 2nd down.
Tim Tebow, whether Florida fans want to hear it or not, or other fans want to see it or not, Tim Tebow, since him, it's been a real struggle at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and Florida fans understand this. There isn't going to be another Tim Tebow. So you have to move on. You can expect offensive innovation and points on the board and some fun back in it, but Tebow's not coming back.
Zaire eludes the initial wave and gets hit hard as he throws, and that ball is eventually reeled in by Pirine. Terry Beckner gave Zaire a good hit, and Jordan Harold on the first pressure. Yeah, but that's what Zaire can do.
Not a very wise decision, however. Zaire's feet got him outside, kept the play alive, but throwing late into the middle of the field for a -4 yards is not advisable to do on a consistent basis.
Florida's got to get to the 48. Looking for some positive signs to carry into next week. Zaire scrambling. Zaire waits, the rush comes, Zaire across the field to the turf. Marcel Frazier had the hit and a flag comes in.
The question about Frazier's hit on Zaire is going to be, was it late and or was it potential targeting?
And the damage there would be you'd lose him for the first half next week if it were targeting.
Ineligible receiver downfield on the offense, number 73. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
Or it's on Florida.
Frazier was certainly invested in that call, and I think rightly so. That was a clean hit, although it was a vicious hit, but the throw came so late that there was an offensive lineman, I think it was Martez Ivy, number 73, the left tackle, that got called for being downfield before that ball was thrown.
That's one of those moments with the clean hit where you credit Frazier in the era of targeting for avoiding that call. Floyd back on the Townsend punt. Floyd on the return gets decked at the 20-yard line. Mizzou hoping for win number 4, trying to help its bowl.
Coverage and whether he completes the ball or not is going to be the key.
Kelly Bryant, tremendous story with his medical history. Didn't think he'd ever play football again at 1 or 2 points of his high school career. And now you got Drew Lock here from Mizzou, a kid who's, I mean, living out the dream, right? Born in Columbia, moved to Lee's Summit, Missouri. And Lock is going to come off to a round of applause. So Drew Lock, who is a legacy, his dad and grandfather, both Mizzou Tigers, rather ecstatic about today's effort in Columbia.
Yeah, and Drew Lock has obviously had a lot to do with the last few offensive explosions.
Michael Wilson now in at quarterback.
And I think with Drew Lock, it was a better understanding coming into this year and knowing the why behind what he's doing. His personality was kind of up and down, according to his play caller, Josh Heupel. And so once the why of the play could be understood and you knew as a quarterback you could do something about that, all of a sudden Drew Lock began to get it. And he's getting it at a pretty significant level currently.
Third down for Wilson and incomplete. He wanted Floyd.
Intended for number 17.
Yeah, Kelly, that knowledge has actually helped him mature emotionally. Coach is telling us that sometimes he'd get too high when things were exciting and then he'd get too low whenever he made a mistake. But now that knowledge and experience has helped him realize what he's doing wrong at the certain times and to not get too upset about it.
Yeah, Chris, I think that's significant at that position, probably more than any other. As a quarterback, you can get there as long as you understand how to. And the why behind the play is the significant part that he really wasn't getting before really the beginning of this year.
Corey Fatoni gets a nice bounce inside the 30. It's a 46-yard punt for the junior Fatoni. And Florida gets it back one more time. But his first week as the head coach, interim-wise, Randy Shannon goes by the wayside. Franks got absolutely drilled. Second down coming up, and Felipe Franks has had to deal with a lot of that rush stuff coming in his face. It was Turner this time.
Yeah, Chris Turner, number 39 from Missouri, gets on him quickly. Nothing outside, and Frank throws it away, but welcome to the game, Felipe Franks.
Redshirt freshman quarterback. 126 passes on his season. He was the starting quarterback for weeks until Zaire took over, as he drops this one in the bucket for Powell. Down to the 40-yard line and a first down. It's a gain of 31. Malik Zaire, your thoughts today?
I think he had a lot of rust. I think he didn't see it clearly in the pass game all the time, and I thought he was good at times getting out on the edge, but trust me, I don't know that it matters who the quarterback is currently, because I think there are uninspired efforts going on around that position, and Franks has to get something done currently.
Up the sideline for Powell. But again, Chris mentioned it, his reaction to losing the job, Franks' reaction to losing the job to Zaire was, hey, I absolutely think I'm the better guy. I want this job back. And that's the competitiveness that Randy Shannon wanted to see as Powell makes this catch again. You can see who the beneficiary is of Franks jumping in. It's Brandon Powell.
And as we're talking about Felipe Franks, and then we talked about Malik Zaire. Zaire's a fifth-year senior. He's done. But let me tell you what Felipe Franks is thinking. Do I fit in with who's ever coming next to coach me? Do I fit that template? And that's a heavy thing on a student athlete to have to play under, and you hope the young man goes out and plays well. And certainly, I think I'm the best guy. Well, then he has to go out and compete and prove it right here, and he'll probably have to prove it in practice next week.
Franks incomplete. Well, with the coaching change number, as we showed you a little while ago, it should be part of the high school curriculum, how to deal with a coaching change.
Yeah, the advanced class in high school for student athletes that are highly recruited. They're not sometimes used to all of that adversity on the field, and whether it's Zaire or Franks or Zaire or Del Rio before he got hurt, I think there were problems elsewhere in this program offensively, and they don't seem to be getting very close to being fixed.
Franks down the middle and incomplete. Hammond couldn't get his paws on it to bring it in, and Jim McElwain ends up departing. Randy Shannon told us, look, the one thing I didn't want is for Coach Mack to feel like he was isolated and gone from all of his friends, because that was the toughest thing for Randy Shannon, he said, when he was fired from Miami, is to make sure that he had some people to talk to. And Randy Shannon said, look, even if I don't answer at 2 o'clock and you call me, it means I'm working, but it doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you. So he's trying to keep McElwain involved even after the parting. Franks to Pirine, who slams on the brakes and scores. Touchdown, Florida. LaMichael Pirine.
Very well-placed ball by Felipe Franks, and then Pirine pays it off. The ball placement allowed Pirine just to continue up the field. On the swing screen, The defender was coming up to make a tackle, but the ball placement allowed Franks to turn it up quickly. Thomas Wilson was on the missed tackle coming up from that safety position.
And Pirine is down. So after the injury to Malik Davis last week to end his season very likely, Pirine is injured on that touchdown for the Gators, who do for Mizzou. So Pirine with 96 total yards and a touchdown. And we'll see if the Gators decide to onside this thing. Timeout. So we'll say hi to Chris Cotter.
Missouri.
Cotter?
What more would you expect from Wisconsin than a fullback? Of course. We show you Texas Tech passing from the 1 yard line. Wisconsin's going to go to Alec Ingold from the 1 yard line. He scores over on ABC. It's 31-17 right now, midway through the fourth. West Virginia making their way into the stadium here in Morgantown. They're going to kick against Iowa State. Good one in the Big 12. You know we're going to see some fireworks in this one. 32 minutes away here on ESPN2, guys.
By the way, that would be a good basketball game as well. And you and I got to see Michael Porter Jr., the highly touted recruit for Mizzou at practice.
His wingspan is unbelievable.
Barry Odom would take him.
Yeah,
but
no
I
doubt.
don't think Konzo Martin's going to let him have him.
No, and I don't think Porter has the legs to play this game yet, but he'll probably get there. He's still growing up.
Just an absolute physical specimen. As the onside kick goes sailing out of bounds. Week 9 Monday Night Football, big in the NFC North, the Packers and the Lions. Packers post Aaron Rodgers. Monday Night Countdown starts the coverage 6 Eastern on ESPN, also available in Spanish on ESPN2. You can hear Sean McDonough and John Gruden do their best Spanish. If you have to hit your SAP button just right for that to happen, though. There's a special way you have to do it. Keep trying while you watch.
Let's hear you do some Spanish, McDonough. Come on.
I think.
Can you do that?
I think my job would be on the line. Porque. 5:34 to go. Quarter number 4 here in Columbia. Thanks for asking. But Barry Odom in his second season, trying to get his 8th win as the head coach. And the backup quarterback, Micah Wilson. We told you Drew Lock is a legacy. Wilson, his dad, Curtis, was a captain at Missouri as well back in 1988. So they have 2 guys under center out of the shotgun who know this campus very well. Makes it easier when you're recruiting the kid too, huh?
Yeah, you can go in and they talk the language of the culture here on campus, and I think Barry Odom is certainly, I believe, taking this thing the right direction in this program.
Why do you say that?
I think he stands for the right things. He's one of them. I think he transmits that when you talk to him, and he certainly believes that he and his staff can get this done.
Dawson Downing on this carry, and he rams his way to the 40-yard line. And a timeout for an injured player. It's Brad Stewart, the safety for the Gators.
What was your impression of Barry Odom yesterday when we talked to him?
I think a very likable guy, very honest guy, which is nice to see. And somebody who really gets the future of college football players. He is a hard-nosed linebacker type. And he said, look, my coach, when I was here at Mizzou, had this office that was so dark and kind of so dingy, and you were always afraid to go into the office. He spruced up his office with all sorts of different neat tools, and he says, look, the players love to come into the office. They play video games sometimes, just hang out. It's a nice place for them to go. So I think he has a great understanding of the generation he's coaching, at least at first blush.
You know, Jason, we were sitting in his office yesterday. It overlooks the stadium, and I asked him, I said, when you were a player, I could only imagine that you imagined having this view. So how does the dream stack up to the reality? And he said, Well, I'm not as happy as I probably thought that I could be. The job's been tough for him, and he came into a tough situation with the protests that have happened on this campus, the enrollment being down for the last 2 freshman classes. And as you mentioned, when he goes into each and every home, he has to have a conversation addressing that, changing the narrative. Now, this past year, it has been much better, but that is the tough part about coming in at the time that he did, because there has been a ton of stability at this university from the coaches, from the athletic directors, and a lot of that has changed over the last 3 years.
And that's exactly why I think some people that think that this head coach, Barry Odom, is on the hot seat, I think they're exactly wrong. I think he has an opportunity to build something. It's going the right direction. And as a defensive-minded head coach, he's also chosen the right offense, and I think that's vital as well.
This game certainly makes life a little bit easier on his staff, as here's a run for Wilson for a first down. It makes it easier on his kids, too. He said he's got 2 school-age kids, and they're much happier because their friends don't say your dad's a bad coach when the team wins. That isn't the word he used.
That isn't the word that Barry Odom used. Are you going to use the word that he used, or are you going to shy away from that?
We call it paraphrasing in the business, protective paraphrasing.
And there's the path to bowl eligibility after their 4th win here today, and opportunity here next week. And then they really, right there, have to win 2 out of those 3 after today.
2 roadies to end the season, trying to get back to a bowl game after back-to-back divisional titles in the SEC before the Gators won 2 in a row. Downing again. And by the way, Florida still has a chance at a bowl game. They have a high APR. They are 3-5 with this loss today. And lo and behold, we may end up with a bowl knockout game between Florida State and Florida at the end of the season.
That's an interesting call, because Randy Shannon told us that how he's kind of trying to motivate some players is, what do you want to put on tape if you have aspirations of playing at the next level? That's exactly what Jimbo Fisher told us, for different reasons. You know, their season at Florida State hasn't gone the right direction, but he's telling his players the same thing. You know, he said he catered to their individuality, put something good on tape, make a good impression for the next level. And it's interesting when those 2 teams will meet at the end of the year.
Wilson gets knocked down at the 25 by Steiner.
But back to Barry Odom, one thing about a defensive-minded head coach is sometimes you err on the side of picking an offense that's too conservative. And he was at Memphis with Justin Fuente, and he saw what that offense could do. So what does he do here? He brings in Josh Heupel, running the spread, sometimes with pace, spread it out, a physical kind of vertical run game, and then shots outside, and it fits well with the defense. Sometimes defensive coaches don't want the hurry-up thing because it puts the defense in jeopardy because of the volume of plays, but it's a good fit right here, right now for Missouri.
Wilson runs it again, and he is just shy of the 25. It was Luke Ankrum with the tackle, but if you're Florida and you've had the coaching change, you really get waxed today in Columbia. Where do you go from here? What are the signs you're looking for?
That is a tough one. You didn't see many of the signs you're looking for here today, and I think Randy Shannon's challenge is going to be, once again, to motivate players. And what are they motivated by? How can you push the right buttons? And you know, maybe this was just a little bit too early to expect a good effort, because McElwain isn't out very long, but it wasn't a great effort today out of this Florida team, really across the board.
Field goal good for McCann from 42. And look, it was a strange week, right? I mean, rarely do you see an athletic director say this was about much more than wins and losses. And that is a relatively cryptic statement. It may have to do with the claim of death threats early in the week from the week before the Georgia game. But Randy Shannon had a lot of at least cleanup to do, don't you think?
Oh, man, he had massive cleanup to do. Kind of triage in the hearts of young student athletes that certainly envisioned this season going a far different direction than it turned out that it's going.
Last time Florida was 3-4, we told you, was back in 1986. They, that season, won 3 of their final 4 to go 6-5. They beat a ranked Auburn team, and a ranked Georgia team. And if this Florida group is going to go to a bowl game, they'll be at South Carolina, home for UAB, and home for Florida State. And the question is, who's the quarterback going to be for those games after today?
Well, we'll wait for the open audition next week and try to answer that question.
McCann has been quite the weapon with his touchbacks here. He kicks it short to Lemons. And out of bounds he goes. But Malik Zaire, what's your takeaway today?
I mean, Zaire brought the right skill set, you know, the dual threat ability, but he's playing in an offense, and Doug Nussmeier, a play caller of this offense, that isn't really set up to maximize what Zaire does. And so I can see the attempt to try to get there, but aside from that, you have really 10 other guys on the field that aren't playing particularly well either.
Why is it not set up for Zaire, even after you watch today?
It's just not the scheme. I mean, the scheme was Alabama. The scheme was then Colorado State. It's a pocket passer. There isn't a lot of dual threat concepts built into that. It's movement before the snap and, you know, trying to create an extra gap as we see Felipe Franks go deep in really good coverage on the back end. And we have yet another flag, which is potentially a holding call by that offensive line from Florida. But it just isn't designed to work that way. So I could see the attempt by Doug Nussmeier trying to get
number
there.
65 on the offense. Penalty is 10 yards from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
It's on one of two Jawan Taylors. There's a safety named Jawan Taylor and a lineman named Jawan Taylor. They call him Big Juan and Little Juan.
Which Juan do you want to be?
To
But
differentiate.
McElwain's blueprint was a lot of movement, trades, motions, creating an extra gap and create a physical run game, play action pass game, and control the game that way. And that isn't a dual threat centric offense. And so I thought it was an odd fit for Zaire to begin with.
So what's next week?
I don't really know, to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't know what was this week. I mean, I think it was Zaire in this so-called open competition because he's the one guy that didn't get a start yet in this season. It was Franks 6 times, and it was Del Rio 1 time, and it was Zaire's opportunity today. As you see right there, Felipe Franks rips it from the pocket, which is what he's there to do. But conceptually, this to me isn't a great fit for Malik Zaire.
That's the kind of loaded dice you roll with the graduate transfer situation. We have seen it before at North Carolina. We saw them last week in Brandon Harris, and that wasn't exactly a fit, and Zaire got his crack today at the starting job, and Florida will take a loss at Mizzou. His defense still swarming as Stevens makes the catch.
There are tangible reasons that this offense has suffered. And Nussmeier told us, you know, it's about they lack depth on the offensive line. There was a deep-rooted defensive culture. There were suspensions and injuries.